StemChange Verbs, Part 1, E to IE. Capítulo 6A.2. What are StemChange verbs? Some AR, ER, or IR verbs have a spelling change in their stem. The stem of a verb is the part of the verb that remains after you take off the AR, ER, or IR ending. For example, the verb pensar will drop off the ending of AR, and we're left with the stem of pens, P-E-N-S. These verbs have a stem change in all forms except for the nosotros and vosotros forms. The vowel that changes is always the final vowel before the AR, ER, or IR ending. So our first verb pensar means to think or to plan. Notice how the yo form is not penso, but pienso. It has the E that changes to IE. So yo pienso means I think or I plan. Tú piensas, you think, you plan. Él piensa, he thinks. Ella piensa, she thinks. Usted piensa, you formal think. Nosotros pensamos, we think. Vosotros pensáis, you all think. Ellos piensan, they think. Ustedes piensan, you all think. So, what we can do with this verb pensar to make it a boot verb is we can draw a boot around this verb, but we only draw it around four forms: pienso, piensas, piensa, piensan, and not the other two forms. We draw shoelaces to show that the X would be next to pensamos and to pensáis, because those two outside of the boot do not change from E to IE. So notice how inside the boot we see pienso, piensas, piensa, and piensan, how they've changed the E to IE in the stem, but not the two that are outside the boot, pensamos and pensáis. Here are 5 more E to IE stem change verbs. Copy them into your notes and draw boots around them. First we have the verb cerrar. Cerrar means to close. Cierro, cierras, cierra, cerramos, cerráis, and cierran. When we add the boot, we see again the 4 forms inside the boot change from E to IE, and the 2 outside the boot stay with just CE and not CIE. Let me give you all 5, and then you can pause the video to copy them into your notes. The second AR verb is empezar. It means to begin. Yo empiezo, tú empiezas, él empieza, nosotros empezamos, vosotros empezáis, ellos empiezan. Again, we put the boot, and we notice how the 4 forms inside the boot change from E to IE. Our third verb is an ER verb, querer. Querer means to want or love. Yo quiero means I love or I want. Tú quieres. Él quiere. Nosotros queremos. Vosotros queréis. Ustedes quieren. When we add the boot, we see the 4 forms inside the boot that change from the E to the IE, and then we see how the 2 outside do not change. Then we have 2 IR verbs. The first one, preferir, which means to prefer. Yo prefiero. Tú prefieres. Él prefiere. Nosotros preferimos. Vosotros preferís. Ellos prefieren. When we add the boot, we see how the E that changes to IE inside the boot is the one right before the IR ending. So it's not the first E, but it's the second E. And the two outside the boot do not change. And our last IR verb is the verb sentir, which means to feel. Yo siento, tú sientes, él siente, nosotros sentimos, vosotros sentís, ellos sienten. We draw the boot around it, and we see the four forms inside the boot have changed from E to IE, and the two outside do not. So go ahead and pause the video here and record these in your notebook. ¿Cómo se dice en inglés? Número 1. La señora Herrera cierra la puerta. Número 2. Yo pienso jugar al voleibol hoy a las 4 de la tarde. Y número 3. ¿Por qué empiezas temprano? ¿Cómo se dice en español? Número 1. She prefers to eat bread with butter. Número 2. They want more time to study. Número 3. We feel sad because you aren't here. So please be ready for your quiz over these notes. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.